$625 million. I mean, wow. That is the biggest prize pool in World Cup history. Welcome to this explainer on Footballnomics, where we're going to completely decode the massive, unprecedented financial mechanics behind the 2026 FIFA World Cup. So with this new expanded 48-team tournament, we're looking at more matches, immense broadcast revenue, and just a staggering amount of cash being injected directly into the global sport. Now, get this. Even a team that gets eliminated in every single group game, they still earn $9 million. But that brings up a really fascinating question. How much does a winning player actually pocket after taxes, agent fees, and the cuts taken by their own federation? Well, that's exactly what we're going to find out today.
Okay, let's start with the big number. The full performance prize pool FIFA is distributing across this tournament is exactly $625 million, shared among the 48 participating nations. And we pulled this figure directly from FIFA's official prize money documents, which outline the exact financial distribution. Now, to really understand where this astronomical figure comes from, you have to look at the commercial reality of the event itself. FIFA generates literally billions through global broadcasting rates, top-tier corporate sponsorships, and of course, massive ticketing revenues across the United States, Canada, and Mexico. They take a portion of those commercial windfalls and allocate this $625 million strictly to compensate the performance of the nations on the pitch. It's just an enormous pie to slice up, and the financial stakes have absolutely never been higher.
But here is a truly surprising baseline fact regarding that distribution. Even a team that loses every single one of their group stage matches, like a team that finishes dead last and goes home after 2 weeks, they are guaranteed $9 million in performance payouts. You might be wondering, why on earth does this massive $9 million baseline even exist? Well, primarily, it's designed to cover the immense logistical costs of transporting, housing, and training a 26-man squad, plus their extensive support staff, across an entire continent. Basically, it ensures that every participating federation gets a baseline compensation so that simply appearing at the World Cup doesn't become a financial burden.
Now stick around, because right around minute 6 of this explainer, we're going to reveal the twist. We'll uncover which national federations actually take the majority of the prize money, leaving their very own players with just a fraction of what you'd expect. Because as you'll see, the headline number you read about in the press, that rarely translates to the direct deposit hitting a striker's bank account. It's a fascinating look at how this massive wealth is fiercely divided behind closed doors. Let's dive right into part 1, the prize ladder, breaking down the payouts by tournament round. So, with the new 48-team format, the prize ladder has been precisely restructured. Teams exiting in the group stage take home that baseline $9 million we just talked about. But look at the jumps here. Exiting in the round of 32 nets you $13 million. Making it to the quarterfinals, that secures $25 million. The semifinals guarantee $35 million. The runner-up takes $38 million. And the eventual champion walks away with a $40 million payout. These escalations aren't random. They're structured deliberately by FIFA to heavily incentivize advancing deep into the knockout stages, making sure that the immense commercial value of those high-stakes, globally televised matches is directly reflected in the prize money. To put these figures into clear financial perspective, the champion's payout of $40 million actually represents a pretty strategic shift in global football economics. In 2022, Argentina took home $42 million for winning it all. So interestingly, the top prize is actually decreased slightly this time around, but the total prize pool has expanded drastically to accommodate 48 teams instead of 32. Instead of concentrating all this unprecedented wealth right at the very top, FIFA has structurally widened the base. This ensures that millions of dollars flow deeper into the global football ecosystem to fund more federations than ever before.
Moving on to part 2, the private reality and how player compensation actually works. But here's where it gets controversial. Some federations actually keep over 50% for operational costs. You know, it's incredibly easy to just assume that a $40 million grand prize gets split evenly among the winning players, right? But FIFA bylaws strictly dictate that they do not pay individuals. Here is the actual legal and financial flow of the money. Step 1, FIFA distributes the prize money. Step 2, those massive funds land entirely in the bank account of the national federation, not the players. And step 3, the federation wields absolute authority to decide the internal split. They alone determine exactly how much goes to the players, how much goes to the coaching staff, and how much is completely absorbed into the federation's own corporate accounts. And this internal split highlights a major friction point in modern sports business. Remember that 50% benchmark we just mentioned? Federations routinely argue that this retained money is absolutely essential for their operational costs. You know, finding youth academies, upgrading stadiums, and developing the next generation of talent. But analyze this from a locker room's perspective for a second. If you just won the World Cup, would you be okay giving up more than half your winnings to your boss for quote-unquote office operations? Yeah, that is the exact debate happening in federation boardrooms all around the world right now. So, the absolutely crucial concept to remember when looking at these massive financial figures is this quote right here. The prize is public, the split is private. Think about it. Two players reaching the exact same round, achieving the exact same results on the pitch for different countries, they can walk away with completely different financial bonuses. And it's based entirely on intense, closed-door negotiations with their respective federations.
Which brings us to part 3. 3 countries, 3 philosophies. And how different federations actually handle this windfall.
Let's examine how this actually plays out in practice, starting with Argentina. Now, you might expect a team completely full of global superstars to wield total leverage and demand the lion's share of the prize money. But in reality, the federation actually takes more. The Argentine Football Association has historically dealt with pretty significant institutional debts and the constant need to subsidize struggling domestic leagues. Consequently, a massive portion of the prize windfall is retained by the federation to stabilize their national footballing infrastructure, rather than maximizing the direct payouts to the players.
Now contrast that completely with England's approach. This is honestly a masterclass in ultimate player power within modern sports. The English players, who are backed by sophisticated representation and possess immense commercial leverage, have successfully negotiated a highly favorable internal split. The players get roughly an 80% cut of the prize money pool. Because the English FA is already incredibly wealthy through massive domestic broadcasting deals and relentless commercial sponsorships, the players can successfully demand that the vast majority of the World Cup performance payout goes directly into their pockets. And then we have Morocco, which introduces an entirely different macroeconomic dynamic: direct government involvement. In this model, the national government works very closely with the Football Federation to dictate the prize money split. The financial distribution is tied directly to broader national sporting initiatives, like funding state-backed youth academies or building nationwide infrastructure for future tournament bids. By integrating the World Cup windfall into state-backed development plans, the decision-making process is largely taken completely out of the players' hands. All right, part 4, millions for the underdogs, looking at the macroeconomic impact on debut nations. Look at the sheer scale of the juxtaposition here regarding that $9 million baseline payout we established earlier. Take Curaçao, for example, a Caribbean island with a population of under 170,000 people, or consider a rapidly developing footballing nation like Jordan. For these federations, simply qualifying for an expanded 48-team World Cup is a literal seismic economic event. That $9 million isn't just a standard athletic prize bonus, it represents a cash injection that often rivals or completely dwarfs their entire annual sporting gross domestic product. Similarly, look at the financial realities for Uzbekistan. After decades of failed qualification attempts, reaching the global stage unlocks money that builds actual physical training facilities, hires top-tier international coaching staffs, and sustains youth development for a whole generation. For nations like Uzbekistan, Jordan, and Curaçao, the macroeconomic reality of FIFA's prize structure means that merely participating provides foundational, long-term, structural funding that permanently alters the trajectory of the sport domestically in those countries. So as we map out how the $625 million financial package flows from FIFA to the national federations and eventually down to the players, we arrive at a really critical juncture. Should FIFA mandate a minimum percentage that must go directly to the players who actually play the games? Or is the current system, where federations have the absolute autonomy to retain funds to stabilize domestic leagues or build national infrastructure, the optimal way to govern global football economics? It is a massive, fascinating tension right at the very heart of the sport. What do you think? Well, that wraps up our explainer diving into the mechanics of World Cup prize money. Keep all of this in mind when the tournament finally kicks off, and we'll see you in the next explainer.